If you live in the state of California and you're into firearms, chances are you might have heard that it is nearly impossible for the average person to get a concealed carry weapons permit in the state of California. Today, we're going to be talking about why that isn't true. I've done a video on this topic in the past when it comes to good cause for getting a concealed carry permit in the state of California, but some things have changed. Actually, some things have changed a lot. And so that's why I'm making an updated video on what it takes to get good cause for a CCW in the state of California. We're going to talk about some of the different tiers and some of the different counties that are easy and why, for the most part, almost all Californians actually live in a county that would allow them to get a CCW. We're not going to get too much into the whole politics and my beliefs as far as what permits are and aren't and whether or not they should exist or what they should be like in this state. We're not going to do too much of that. We're going to try to focus solely on the information. However, I will let you know that at some point I might let my distaste for some of these laws show through. So we're going to try to be as informative as possible. Also, before we get going, I do want to say that on May 8th and 9th, I am going to be doing a meetup with Anthony Miranda, aka the Armed Scholar, at Route 66 Shooting Sport Park down in San Bernardino, California. If you want to come out, shoot, hang out, that would be great. We're going to be having a whole bunch of different vendors out there doing giveaways, food, a whole bunch of shooting experiences. Check the link down in the description to go over to their website to learn more information. It's going to be awesome. I hope to see you there. So if we take a look here, this is what it was like for a California CCW good cause. And what I mean by that is this. In the state of California, in addition to having a requirement of good moral character, having to do some training, and having to pass a background check to get a CCW, the county sheriff actually has the legal authority to determine whether or not you have good cause to get a CCW, meaning that they are the ultimate final say about whether or not you can get a permit to conceal carry. Good cause in some counties is as simple as saying, I wish to be able to defend myself and my family, and that you have a good criminal background check and you can pass some basic tests and you can get your CCW. Great. Some counties, on the other hand, like Santa Clara County with Sheriff Lori Smith, you're going to have to make a sizable donation to the campaign fund. And if that sounds corrupt to you, it is, and it's not something you should stand for. All the people in Santa Clara County, make sure you stay up to date about the corruption scandal that is going on with Sheriff Lori Smith. So if we look at this good cause map here, this is from 2009. The people on CalGuns have been updating this throughout the years, usually every 6 months or so, maybe every 4 months, depending on if things change rapidly. But in 2009, this is what it looked like. Now, red means virtually no issue. Light red means exceptional good cause required, meaning that maybe if you have some quantifiable death threats, if you are a high value target like a celebrity or a lawyer or a DA, you might be able to get it. Yellow typically falls in the category of maybe something that you do for work puts you at a higher risk. Light green is basically, if you dance when they say dance like a good boy, like a good dancing monkey, and say, oh, I do certain things and it makes me higher risk, you're going to get it. Dark green is what they consider virtually shall issue, meaning that if you say self-defense, for the most part, you might get it. When it comes to actually writing a good cause statement and determining what your county actually is at any given point in time, you're going to want to go over to this CalGuns thread. I'm going to have a link to this down below. What this is various threads for various counties. So for example, here, Yolo County, San Diego, Contra Costa, Orange County, Riverside, Sonoma. You might see my name in there a few times. If you go to one of these threads, you can look at the last page, and depending on how often people comment on them, I would suggest going back maybe a few threads, about 6-8 months of conversation, and reading it through. Some counties change, and as the county sheriff that is elected changes, things can change. So for example, my county, Sonoma County, we were what was considered a virtually no issue. This is from 2009, but it did look like this in Sonoma County up until about 2018, because what happened in 2018 was there was a sheriff's election, and Sheriff Mark Essick ran on a platform of wanting to respect people's rights to keep and bear arms. He didn't come out and say that he would be giving CCWs to anyone with a clean criminal history, good moral character. He didn't say that it was going to be a shall issue county, but what he did promise was that he would be more open to the idea of issuing a concealed carry permit. And this kind of leads me into my next topic about whether things change over time and what your sheriff and who your sheriff is truly matters. This is 2009. This is spring of 2021. 2009, 13 reds and 6 light reds. That's 19 counties where you're basically not going to get a CCW. Included in that is Los Angeles, which is 10 million people, which at the time and today is about 1/4 of the state's population. If we look here, now we see 3 counties in the dark red and 3 in the light red, with many more dark green, going from 26 dark green counties to 37, 11 light green to 11 light green, basically staying the same, and then 4 yellow counties. Now, this has kind of been changed over time, but this is great. So for me in Sonoma County, it's basically now, you don't just say self-defense. All of these dark green, I wouldn't recommend just writing the word self-defense on your good cause, unless you go to your county thread on this CalGuns website and you see, hey, literally all I wrote was self-defense and the sheriff gave me a CCW. If you see that repeatedly, okay, maybe do it. But if you want a good idea of how to write a good cause letter and understanding the process, I'm going to recommend you check out this second link, which I'm going to have down below in the description. This is going to be a great source of information for learning what it takes to get a CCW. If you're in the state of California, I recommend you going through and reading this, because how you write your good cause statements can drastically affect your likelihood of getting a CCW. For example, LA is now what people are considered light green, meaning recreational related risks. So let's say for a hobby you are into photography, or you're into maybe exotic cars, or you go out in the mountains to go mountain biking, that kind of thing. And maybe you have a lot of very expensive items that might be impossible to conceal while using them. That might make you a higher value target. Now, let's say you're doing those things in an area that is with bad cell service, or maybe no cell service, and the police response time when you can get a cell phone signal is 30 minutes to an hour. Now, you add all those things together, and maybe let's say you're a 5 foot tall woman versus being a 6'5" strong man who could crush someone's skull like the Mountain in Game of Thrones. How you tell your story, if you were to say, hey, I'm 5'2", 110 pounds soaking wet, I have disabilities, and I carry expensive items in rural locations with long police response times, I think I would like to have a CCW to protect my life if someone was wishing to take my life in order to acquire my things. That would sound a lot better than, I like to go hiking with my camera. So how you write your CCW good cause statement is going to affect some of your ability, especially if you live in some of these wobbler counties like LA, Imperial, Contra Costa, Alameda, or Santa Cruz. So I said earlier that getting a CCW in the state of California is pretty easy for most people. Now let's talk about why that is. So if I drag over this information here, here's some notes that I took. So for the counties that are in currently the dark red or light red, I count these as the no CCW. You're essentially, if you're watching this video and questioning it, you're not getting a CCW unless you're maybe a celebrity. I know there's a few of you that have reached out to me in the past, which, bro, just fucking talk to the sheriff. You probably have connections. If you're in one of these 6 counties, being Santa Barbara, Santa Clara, San Mateo, San Francisco, Marin, or Yolo County, you're probably not going to be able to get a CCW. That, out of the current best numbers that I was able to find online, is 4.49 million people. 4.5 million people in the state of California are unable to get a CCW solely because the sheriff that they have chosen to elect does not respect their ability to own a firearm and carry a firearm outside the home. These people are forced to either make the decision of risking getting caught with it or risking getting caught without it. I think Drake had a lyric of something like that. Shout out to I'm not going to say the word, that got caught with it, and shout out to the people that caught without it, something like that. But these 4.5 million people are forced to make that decision. Do they get caught with a firearm illegally and go to jail? Or do they get caught without a firearm and die? That's up for them to decide. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Now, we then get into the rare CCW. This is the yellow categories. These are the hardest ones because most people that live in these counties are probably not going to be able to get a CCW. However, some people can. And for that reason, I'm going to still include it in the no CCW category. The yellow counties are basically the easiest way that most people would get it in those counties is because of your employment, you might be more likely to be targeted. This would be people that maybe own businesses that deal with a lot of cash. That's like jewelers, people that have to make large bank deposits for their business, if you sell sports memorabilia, sell expensive items, basically if your job requires you to, on a regular basis, to perform the duties of your job, carry large sums of money or very expensive things, potentially at late nights or at late hours in rural locations with bad police response times, that's the kind of people that would get this. So for those reasons, the people in Contra Costa, Alameda, Santa Cruz, and Imperial, for the most part, they're not going to be able to get a CCW. If you live in one of these counties and you think, hey, you know, I work for a business and I routinely have to do some things that might make me more valuable or more a valuable target, if you are one of those people, I highly, highly recommend that you spend as much time as possible looking in your various county threads, learning who was successful and why, and learning what it might take for you to actually articulate your good cause in a way that would let you have a CCW. I hate saying that word because the rights of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. If someone can legally own a gun, there is nothing physically stopping them from walking outside their home and being a good person. If you can pass a background check, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to legally carry a firearm. You're either a good person who can pass a background check and should be in society, or you're a bad person who shouldn't be in society and maybe should be locked up for their own good or others' own good. Kind of a not a very nuanced take, but I'm trying to be as limited on my time about the politics of this. The problem with this is the county sheriff has the ultimate say about whether or not you get to legally exercise your rights and defend yourself. Not exactly my favorite way of looking at it. And that's why I put that 2.98 million people in those 4 counties in the basically not going to get a CCW. And that combined with the 6 red counties puts you at 5.95 million people. Basically 5.96 million people, basically 6 million people are living in a county where they're not going to get a CCW. So this 5.96 million people, essentially almost 6 million people are unable to get a CCW. That's about 15% of the state of California's population lives in a county where they're not going to get a CCW. Just some of those people might be able to if you're in one of those yellow counties that you own a business. But for the most part, there's about 6 million people that won't be able to get a CCW, and that's about 15% of the state population. That number used to be significantly higher because LA County actually used to be essentially a dark red county. But recently, in a video that I made previously talking about Sheriff Alex Villanueva, he, a few months ago, said that he was going to be issuing more CCWs. We all thought it was a joke. He said 400% more, and 400% of 0 is still 0, so we kind of laughed about it. But it appears now as if more people are actually getting a CCW. If you want a detailed process on LA County or Sonoma County, because I've made videos on those 2 topics, go ahead and check out my previous videos, which I will have linked in the description below. Or you can just look up LA County CCW Reno May or Sonoma County CCW Reno May. It should pop right up. But since LA County is now much more likely and much easier to get a CCW, that's a 10 million person swing of people that now can or now are eligible to get a CCW, bringing that total of people that could get a CCW from about 23 million to 33.5 million people now in the state of California able to get a CCW. That's pretty big. That's huge. If you live in one of these counties and you're one of the 33.5 million, aka the 85% of the population that could get a CCW, that's great. I highly recommend you apply. I highly recommend you check out your county thread on the CalGuns link, and then check out this thread by Paladin. Paladin has been a huge help. Back when I was initially applying for my CCW in the Sonoma County in 2018, I was reading the threads, and the information that he was curating from other people anonymously so they didn't have to share their personal details was huge. It was a massive help, and the people on CalGuns have been never-endingly helpful. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but what they've been doing over there is great work, and I highly recommend you check out what they have to say because they are very well versed on this. This video has gone a lot longer than I wanted it to, but the moral of the story is 85% of the population in the state of California can get a CCW with reasonable effort. Do I think that it should be a game of politics where the sheriff has the ultimate say about whether or not you should have a CCW? No. I don't think the law enforcement agencies, whether or not they are elected officials, should have the ability to take away your right to keep and bear arms. I think the costs are very prohibitive. Most people who would truly more likely need a CCW are more likely to be poor or more likely to be affected by these policies, and it's for that reason that I can't support those. When it comes to sheriffs in the state of California, who you elect will dictate your ability to get a CCW. That's why for me in Sonoma County, I'm always going to recommend that people vote for Sheriff Mark Essick because he has respected the rights of me and many others to get a CCW. And it's for that reason that you should pay more attention. The people in Santa Clara County, I'm sure a lot of you might not be aware. If you live in Santa Clara County or if you know people that live in Santa Clara County, educate them on the fact that it is now a pay-to-play scheme with Sheriff Lori Smith. Terrible person, absolutely terrible person. Sheriff Alex Villanueva, still not a fan of him, but he has changed a little bit. We'll see how it goes down the road. We'll see how this develops over time. If you live in one of those counties that might be on the yellow, work with your county. I know that some of you might not like police. I'm not the biggest fan of police officers in general when it comes to their role in enforcing the laws of the state. But I understand the fact that there are small changes that we can make at local levels that can have huge impacts on your ability to get a concealed carry permit. Because if you live in one county and get a CCW, you can travel anywhere throughout the county while you are still a resident of that county with that CCW and carry. I can drive to LA right now with my legal CCW, but someone living in LA can't legally get a CCW up until recently. I can do that same thing in Santa Clara, San Francisco, Marin, all those places that won't allow you to have a CCW. I can carry there because of Sonoma County issuing me a CCW. Is that right? Is that how it should be? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. If this video was at all helpful, I highly recommend that you subscribe. There's a lot more information in my playlist section. A lot of you are new here. A lot of you might have missed some of the great videos that I've talked about. I'm not going to make constant update videos on laws that don't necessarily change, but this was something that I felt was worth it. Check out my California gun laws playlist for more information. Check out my California AR-15 playlist if you're into AR-15s in the state of California. A lot of good information there. You guys know the drill. Have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace.